My wife mocked me over sexy lingerie she packed for her work trip. Don't be ridiculous. This is work. Then I found Viagra in her luggage and swapped it for sleeping pills. Hours later, her boss collapsed after their hotel meet. I still remember the moment I unzipped her suitcase and froze. Nestled in the pocket was a small bottle of blue pills, the kind no married woman should ever be carrying. I didn't argue. I didn't ask. Instead, I quietly replaced every pill with powerful sleeping tablets. Hours later, while my wife laughed her way into a hotel suite with her boss, he collapsed at dinner. And that was only the beginning. My name is Tom Holly, and I'm 39 years old, with the kind of job that makes people's eyes glaze over at parties. I fix computers, not the glamorous kind where I hack government databases or create an artificial intelligence that threatens humanity. No, I'm the guy who shows up when Karen from accounting cannot remember her password for the 15th time this month, or when the printer decides to jam every single sheet of paper as if it were personally offended by the concept of productivity. But this is what happens when you are the invisible information technology guy. You see everything. People forget you are there when you are crawling under their desk to plug in a cable. They have conversations right over your head as if you were just another piece of furniture. They leave their screens unlocked, their phones face up, their secrets scattered like confetti after a particularly messy divorce. Which brings me to my wife, Mara. Mara Holly, née Morrison, 37 years old, a marketing executive at Pinecell Solutions. The kind of woman who wears power suits that cost more than my monthly salary and acts as if she were auditioning for the role of the chief executive officer's wife in some corporate drama. She is beautiful in that sharp, calculated way that requires 2 hours and 3 different moisturizers to achieve each morning. We have been married for 12 years, together for 14, and for the last 6 months, something has been off. Not off in the way that married couples sometimes grow distant or get comfortable with each other. Off in the way that makes you wonder if the person sleeping next to you is planning your death or just your replacement. It started with small things. Mara working late more often, taking calls in the other room, buying new lingerie that I never got to see her wear, her phone face down on the nightstand, password protected as if it contained state secrets instead of shopping lists and photos of our neighbor's annoying cat. "Are you being paranoid, Tom?" she would say whenever I mentioned her new habits. "I'm going for a promotion. Do you know how important this is for our future?" Our future, right? Because nothing says our future like hiding your phone screen when your husband walks into the room. The breaking point came on a Tuesday in March. I was doing the laundry, because apparently being the sole breadwinner does not exempt you from household chores when your wife is building her career, when I found something interesting in the pocket of Mara's jacket, a small, discreet vial of blue pills. Now, I'm not a doctor, but I'm pretty sure my wife does not suffer from dysfunction, and I'm absolutely sure she did not get those pills for me, considering our love life had been as active as a cemetery at midnight for the past few months. I stood there in our laundry room, holding that little vial as if it were the smoking gun, which in retrospect it absolutely was. My first thought was surprisingly calm. Well, that explains the new lingerie. My second thought was less calm and included several words that would make my mother wash my mouth out with soap. But this is where being an information technology guy comes in handy. We are problem solvers by nature. When something breaks, we figure out how to fix it. When something does not work as it should, we find a workaround. And when your wife is clearly having an affair with someone who needs pharmaceutical assistance, well, you get creative. I pocketed the vial and went to the pharmacy. I bought a bottle of sleeping pills of the kind that look remarkably like the little blue performance enhancers when you are not paying close attention. Same size, same general color, same innocent appearance. Back at home, I performed what I like to call Operation Switcheroo. Every little blue pill was replaced with a little blue sleeping pill. Same vial, same quantity, completely different effect. "Tom," Mara called from upstairs. "Have you seen my gray jacket, the one with the silver buttons?" "In the laundry room," I replied, sliding the real blue pills into my toolbox. "I just finished washing it." She appeared in the doorway looking rushed and slightly flustered. Her hair was perfect. Her makeup was flawless, but there was something in her eyes that looked almost guilty. "Thanks," she said, grabbing the jacket and quickly checking the pockets. Her fingers found the vial, and I saw her face relax slightly. "I'm going to be late tonight. I have a big presentation tomorrow, and Joel and I need to go over the numbers." Joel. There was the name that had been popping up in conversations with increasing frequency over the past few months. Joel Whittaker, her colleague, her project partner, her apparent pharmaceutical beneficiary. Joel's the one with the Range Rover, right? I asked casually, pretending to fold a towel. That is the one, a very brilliant guy. The company is lucky to have him. I can imagine. Well, do not work too hard, I said, giving her a kiss on the cheek. She smelled of expensive perfume and guilt. I will probably be asleep when you get home. That is probably for the best. You know how grumpy you get when your sleep schedule is disrupted. If only she knew how disrupted things were about to get. That night I sat in my home office, pretending to work on a client's computer while I was actually researching Joel Whittaker. Social media is a wonderful thing when you know how to search. Joel was 42 years old, divorced, drove that Range Rover as if it were an extension of his masculinity. Judging by his Facebook photos, he had the kind of confidence that comes from never having been punched in the face. He was also, according to his LinkedIn profile, Mara's direct supervisor. My phone buzzed with a text from my wife. Working late. Do not wait up. Love you. Love you too, honey. Sweet dreams. The great thing about being married to someone for 12 years is that you learn their patterns. Mara thought she was being subtle, but subtlety was never her strong suit. She was more of the bull in a china shop with designer heels type. So when she announced a business retreat for the following weekend, just her and Joel reviewing quarterly projections at a luxury hotel an hour out of town, I was not exactly surprised. It is at the Grand View Resort, she said without making direct eye contact as she packed her weekend bag. You know, the one with the spa and the golf course, a very professional atmosphere. Sounds romantic, I said. I mean, professional, very professional. She shot me a look. Do not be ridiculous, Tom. This is work. Of course it is. That is why you are packing the black lingerie set. Her hand froze over the suitcase. It is comfortable for sleeping. Exactly. Sure, because nothing says quarterly projections like Victoria's Secret. I helped her carry her bag to her car, playing the part of the supportive husband. Drive safe, I said, giving her a hug that she returned with all the enthusiasm of someone embracing a distant relative at a funeral. I will call you tonight, she promised. I will be waiting. As soon as her taillights disappeared around the corner, I was in my car, following her at a safe distance. The beauty of modern technology is that everyone thinks they are a tech expert until they meet someone who actually is. Mara's phone was still on our family plan, which meant I had access to the location services she had forgotten she had enabled. The Grand View Resort was exactly the kind of place you would take someone you were trying to impress. Marble floors, crystal chandeliers, the kind of lobby that whispered expense account in low, reverent tones. I parked across the street and watched Mara and Joel check in together, laughing at something on his phone screen. Joel was exactly what I expected, tall, with salt and pepper hair at the temples, wearing a suit that probably cost more than my car payment. He had his hand on the small of Mara's back as they walked to the elevator, and she was looking at him like he had just invented fire. I gave them an hour to get settled, and then I called the hotel. Grand View Resort, this is Madison speaking. How can I help you? Hi, Madison. I'm trying to reach my wife, Mara Holly. She is staying there tonight for a business conference, but I think she left her medication at home. I wanted to check if she needed me to bring it to her. Let me check our guest registry. I see Mara Holly checked in about an hour ago. Would you like me to connect you to her room? Actually, could you just give me the room number? I would rather surprise her. There was a pause. I'm sorry, sir, but I cannot give out room numbers for security reasons. Of course, I understand. Could you at least tell me if she is sharing the room with her colleague Joel Whittaker? Just so I know if I need to bring medication for both of them. Another pause, longer this time. Sir, our records show that Mr. Whittaker and Mrs. Holly are registered in the same suite. Bingo. Thank you, Madison. You have been a great help. I hung up and settled in to wait. The swap pills would take about 30 to 45 minutes to take effect, depending on Joel's metabolism and how much he had had to drink at dinner. I had done my research. The sleeping pills I had substituted were strong enough to knock out a horse, but harmless enough that he would only wake up with a headache and some very awkward questions. At 10:47 p.m., my patience was rewarded. An ambulance pulled up to the hotel's main entrance with its lights flashing, but no sirens. I watched from my car as paramedics rushed inside with a gurney. 20 minutes later, they came out with Joel, conscious but dazed, and a very frightened-looking Mara following behind them. My phone rang. Tom. Mara's voice was high and shaky. Something terrible has happened. What is wrong? Are you okay? It is Joel. He collapsed during dinner. We were going over the presentation, and he just went down. They are taking him to the hospital. Oh my God. Is he going to be okay? I do not know. The paramedics said it might be some kind of reaction to a medication, but Tom, this looks really bad. I mean, we were in his room going over the numbers and what? Nothing. It does not matter. I'm going to follow the ambulance to the hospital. Do you want me to come over there? No. The answer was so fast and sharp that she immediately tried to soften it. I mean, no, there is no point. I will probably be home late tonight or early tomorrow morning. Okay, keep me updated. I will. I love you. I love you too, honey. I hung up and allowed myself a small smile. Score 1 for the information technology guy. But as I drove home, I realized this was only the beginning. Mara and Joel had survived their first encounter with my creative problem-solving skills, which meant they would be more careful in the future, more paranoid, more likely to cover their tracks. Good thing I was just getting started. The next morning, I got a call from my friend Eddie Martinez, who was a high school gym teacher and had a talent for collecting gossip like others collect stamps. Dude, you are not going to believe what I heard at the coffee shop this morning, he said without preamble. Surprise me. Your wife's boss collapsed at a fancy hotel last night. Food poisoning or something. But here is the weird part. Apparently he was not alone. I feigned surprise. Really? It was a work thing. That is what they say. But Janet Morrison, you know, the one who works at the hospital, said they brought him in asking about drug interactions, like he had mixed something he should not have. Janet Morrison, Mara's cousin, who worked in the emergency room and had never met a piece of gossip she could not spread like butter on toast. Huh, that is weird. It gets weirder. Janet said the woman who came in with him was acting really nervous and guilty, like she knew something she was not saying. The woman, a marketing executive from his company, very put together, Janet said. Designer clothes, expensive purse, wedding ring. I let that hang in the air for a moment. Well, I'm sure it is nothing serious. Probably just a bad reaction to something. Yeah, probably, but you know how people talk. Oh, I was counting on it. The thing about small towns like Cider is that everyone knows everyone else's business, especially when that business involves ambulances, expensive hotels, and married people who are not married to each other. By Monday morning, the story of Joel's medical emergency had spread through Mara's office like a computer virus. I know this because I have friends in the information technology department at Pinecell Solutions. When you are the guy who fixes everyone's computers, you build a network of people who owe you favors. And when your wife is having an affair with her boss, those favors become very valuable. Tom, you have to hear this, Danny Chin said, calling me from his desk at Pinecell. Danny was the kind of guy who looked like he had never left his basement, but he had his finger on the pulse of office gossip better than any soap opera writer. What is up? Your wife and Joel Whittaker are the talk of the office. Everyone is saying they were together at that hotel when he collapsed. Like, together. People love to gossip, Danny. I'm sure it is nothing. Maybe, but here is the thing. The hotel's security footage shows them checking in together, laughing and touching. And the hotel bar has them on camera sharing drinks and getting pretty cozy before they went upstairs. I felt a cold satisfaction settle in my chest. How do you know about the security footage? Joel's wife hired a private investigator. Gloria Whittaker is not stupid, and she has been suspicious for months. The private investigator got copies of everything. Gloria, I had forgotten about Joel's wife. This was getting interesting. Danny, I need you to do me a favor. Name it. I need you to accidentally forward me any emails or messages that mention Mara or Joel. Can you do that? There was a pause. Tom, are you sure you want to go down this road? I'm already on this road, Danny. I just need to know where it leads. Within an hour, my inbox was full of forwarded messages, office gossip, speculation, and a particularly damning email chain between Mara and her friend Jean Carlisle, who worked in human resources. The emails were a goldmine. Mara and Jen had been planning the hotel retreat for weeks, with Jen providing alibis and schedule adjustments to make sure no one questioned why Mara and Joel were out of the office together. There were discussions about birth control, about Joel's performance issues, and about how to handle his wife if she got suspicious. But the most interesting email was the most recent one, Sent that morning from mara.holly@pinnaclesolutions.com to jen.carlisle@pinnaclesolutions.com. Subject, damage control. Jean, we need to talk as soon as possible. Joel thinks someone might have tampered with his medication. He is paranoid. But what if he is right? What if Tom suspects something? We need to figure out how to handle this before it gets out of hand. Can we meet for lunch? I stared at that email for a long time. So they were starting to suspect. Good. Paranoid people make mistakes. I forwarded the email chain to a new address I had created, sleepingdixley@protonmail.com. Then I started planning phase 2. That night, Mara came home acting like nothing had happened. She kissed me on the cheek, asked about my day, and started making dinner as if she had not spent the weekend in a hotel room with another man. How is Joel doing? I asked casually, chopping vegetables for the salad. She tensed slightly. Better. The doctors think it was just a reaction to a medication he was taking. Nothing serious. That is good. It must have been scary for you to be there when it happened. It was terrifying. One minute we are going over the quarterly reports, and the next he is passed out on the floor. On the floor? I thought you said he collapsed at dinner. Another pause. He did. I meant the floor of the restaurant. Right. The restaurant in his room. She turned to look at me, her expression carefully neutral. What is that supposed to mean? Nothing. I just thought hotel restaurants were usually in the lobby or on the ground floor, not in the guest rooms. Tom, where are you going with this? I shrugged, playing innocent. Nowhere. I'm just glad you are both okay. But I could see the wheels turning in her head. She was wondering how much I knew, how much I suspected, how much trouble she was in. The answer was more than she thought. Over the next few days, I implemented what I like to call Operation Gaslight. Nothing dramatic, nothing that could be traced back to me, just little things designed to make Mara and Joel paranoid. I sent Joel's wife a sympathy card to her office signed, The Holly Family, hoping Joel gets well soon, with a return address that would lead back to Mara if Gloria decided to investigate. I created a fake social media account and started following both Mara and Joel, liking their posts at strategic times to make it seem like someone was watching them. I left a bottle of sleeping pills on Mara's desk at home, in plain sight, with a note that said, "Thought you might need these for your insomnia. A friend." And I started showing up in places where I knew they would be together, the coffee shop near Pinekell Solutions, the restaurant where they had been having their business lunches, the parking garage where Joel kept his Range Rover. I never approached them, never said anything. I just made sure they saw me. I made sure they knew someone was watching. It did not take long for the paranoia to set in. Tom, I need to ask you something, Mara said one night, cornering me in the kitchen. Have you been following me? Following you? What do you mean? Jean said she saw you at Starbucks yesterday when she was having coffee with Joel. And Joel swears he saw you in the work parking garage. I go to Starbucks all the time. It is a free country. And I had a service call in the building next to your office. Is there a problem? She studied my face, searching for some sign. But 12 years of marriage had taught me how to hide my thoughts from her, just as she had learned to hide hers from me. No, she said finally, no problem. I just thought it was a weird coincidence. Life is full of weird coincidences, I said. Like your boss collapsing right after taking a medication that was not supposed to cause that kind of reaction. Her face went pale. What do you mean? Nothing, just making conversation. But we both knew I meant everything. The final straw came when I intercepted a text message between Mara and Jean. I had installed monitoring software on our home router, completely legal since it was my network, which allowed me to see all the traffic that passed through it. Jean, Joel's wife, is asking questions. She hired a private investigator. Mara, how much do you think she knows? Enough to be dangerous. We need to be more careful. Mara, what if Tom is behind this? What if it was him? Who? Jean, who what? Mara, never mind. See you tomorrow. We need to figure out how to handle this. That night, I lay in bed next to my wife, listening to her breathe and planning my next move. She was scared, paranoid, and starting to make mistakes. Joel was probably worse, wondering if someone had tried to poison him, jumping at every shadow. They had no idea how much worse things were about to get. The next morning, I made a decision that would change everything. I was done being subtle, done with hints and innuendos and carefully orchestrated coincidences. It was time to drop the atomic bomb. I called in sick to work and spent the morning preparing. First, I drove to Joel's neighborhood and parked across the street from his house. Gloria Whittaker was exactly what I expected, about 45, well-dressed, the kind of woman who had built her life around her husband's career and was now watching it crumble in real time. I walked up to her door and rang the bell. "Mrs. Whittaker, my name is Tom Holly. I think we need to talk." She looked me up and down, taking in my jeans and polo shirt, my nervous smile, my carefully rehearsed expression of concern. "I'm sorry, do I know you?" "My wife works with your husband, Mara Holly. I believe they were together when Joel had his medical emergency last weekend." Her expression hardened. "I see. And what exactly do you want to talk about, Mr. Holly?" "I think our spouses are having an affair, and I think someone needs to do something about it before this gets any worse." She stared at me for a long moment, then stepped aside and gestured for me to come in. Gloria Whittaker's living room was a shrine to a crumbling marriage. Wedding photos, family vacations, anniversary celebrations, all the milestones of a relationship that had been slowly poisoned by Joel's philandering and Mara's ambition. "How long have you known?" she asked, pouring coffee with hands that trembled slightly. "A few months." Joel has been having affairs for years, but this one feels different, more serious." She handed me a cup and sat down across from me. "The private investigator I hired has photos, hotel receipts, email records, enough to destroy him in a divorce. But you have not done anything yet." I was waiting for the right time. Joel is up for a promotion that would set us up for life. I wanted to see if he would end it on his own once he got what he wanted. I leaned forward. "Mrs. Whittaker, Gloria, I do not think they plan on ending it. I think they plan on escalating it." I showed her the emails I had intercepted, the text messages, the evidence I had been gathering. Her face hardened with each piece of information. "They are not just having an affair," I continued. "They are actively conspiring to hide it, to manipulate people, to cover their tracks. And now they are getting paranoid, which means they are going to start taking bigger risks." "What do you suggest we do about it?" "I suggest we give them something to be really paranoid about." For the next hour, Gloria and I planned what I now think of as the Scorched Earth campaign. She had resources, money, contacts, a private investigator with flexible ethics. I had skills, technical knowledge, access to their communications, and a deep understanding of how to make people's lives miserable through creative applications of technology. Our first target was the office Christmas party, scheduled for that Friday night at the Pinecell Solutions headquarters. Mara had been looking forward to it for weeks, seeing it as an opportunity to showcase her relationship with Joel in a semi-professional setting. "It is important for networking," she had told me. "Joel and I will probably spend most of the night discussing the Henderson account with potential clients." Sure, because nothing says Henderson account like slow dancing to Frank Sinatra. I had planned on skipping the party, claiming a work emergency, but Gloria convinced me to attend. "You have to be there," she said. "When this all goes down, you have to look shocked, innocent, like you had no idea what was happening." The party was held in Pinecell's main conference room, decorated with silver and gold streamers, and a bar that probably cost more than most people's monthly rent. Mara was stunning in a black cocktail dress I had never seen, and Joel looked like he had stepped out of a men's fashion magazine. They were trying to be subtle about their attraction, but subtlety had never been either of their strong suits. The lingering touches, the private conversations in corners, the way they looked at each other when they thought no one was watching. It was all there for anyone who cared to look. Unfortunately for them, everyone was about to care a whole lot. At exactly 9:30 p.m., Gloria's private investigator, a compact, efficient woman named Sarah Chun, walked into the party with a briefcase and an expression of grim determination. "Excuse me," she said, approaching Joel and Mara at the bar. "Joel Whittaker, Mara Holly. I'm Sarah Chun, and I have some documents you need to see." The room went silent. Conversations stopped mid-sentence. The bartender froze with a cocktail shaker in his hands. Sarah opened her briefcase and pulled out a stack of photographs, hotel surveillance footage, credit card receipts, email printouts. "Mr. Whittaker, your wife has filed for divorce. These are copies of the evidence that will be presented in court. Mrs. Holly, I think your husband might be interested in seeing this as well." She handed me a manila envelope. I opened it with trembling hands, not from nerves, but from the effort of suppressing my satisfaction, and pulled out photos of Mara and Joel checking into the hotel together, kissing in the elevator, leaving the same room the next morning. "Oh my God," I said, loud enough for everyone to hear. "Mara, what is this?" The room erupted. People crowded around to see the photos. Voices rose in shock and excitement. Phones came out to record the drama. Mara's face had gone white, and Joel looked like he was going to be sick. Tom, I can explain, Mara started, but I cut her off. Explain what? Explain how you have been lying to me for months? Explain how you have been sleeping with your boss while I was at home thinking we were working through a rough patch in our marriage. It is not what it looks like. It looks like my wife is a cheating liar who has been making a fool of me in front of everyone we know. I was acting and I knew it, but it felt good to finally say the words, to stop pretending I did not know what was going on. Joel tried to step in. Tom, let us discuss this rationally. Rationally, I turned on him, letting 12 years of pent-up anger fuel my voice. You want to discuss this rationally? How about we rationally discuss how you collapsed in a hotel room with my wife after taking a medication that someone had tampered with? The room went silent. Joel's face went from pale to green. That is right, I continued. I know about the blue pill. I know about the sleeping pills. I know everything. Joel staggered back, bumping into a table and sending drinks crashing to the floor. You tried to poison me. I tried to get you a good night's sleep. It looked like you needed it more than some other things. The crowd was eating it up. Phones were recording. People were whispering. And I could see Jean Carlisle in the corner, looking like she wished the earth would swallow her whole. Mara grabbed my arm. Tom, please, can we talk about this in private? In private? Like the way you have been privately sleeping with your boss for the last 6 months. I shook her off. I think we are past the privacy stage, do not you? Security showed up then, alerted by the noise and the crowd, but the damage was already done. By the time they escorted us all out of the building, half the people at the party had posted videos on social media, and the other half were calling their friends to spread the gossip. Joel's career at Pinecell Solutions was over. Mara's reputation was in tatters, and I was just getting started. In the parking lot, as we walked to our cars, Joel made the mistake of trying to confront me. Holly, he said, grabbing my shoulder and spinning me around. You could have killed me with those pills. But I did not, I replied calmly. I just gave you a nap. Though I have to admit, watching the paramedics haul you out of that hotel was pretty satisfying. He threw a punch at me. Big mistake. I had been taking self-defense classes for the past 2 months, ever since I started planning my revenge. Joel might have the luxury car and the expensive suit, but I had the rage and the preparation on my side. I dodged his punch, grabbed his wrist, and used his own momentum to send him sprawling over the hood of his precious Range Rover. The impact set off the car alarm, and suddenly the parking lot was filled with flashing lights and blaring sirens. Stay down, I told him, standing over him as he tried to get up. And stay away from my wife. Your wife came to me, he gasped. She is the one who. I grabbed him by his expensive tie and pulled him close. My wife is a lot of things, Joel, but she is still my wife, and you are nothing. You are a middle-aged man with performance issues who preys on married women because he cannot stand to be alone. So here is what is going to happen. You are going to get in your overpriced sport utility vehicle. You are going to drive away from my house, and you are never going to contact my wife or me ever again. Because if I ever see you again, if I even hear your name mentioned in connection with my wife, I'm going to make tonight look like a friendly chat. I let go of his tie and stepped back. He scrambled to his feet, straightened his jacket, and looked at the crowd that had gathered to watch the show. This is not over, he said. Yes, it is, I replied. You just do not know it yet. As Joel drove away, his car alarm still blaring and his dignity in shreds, I felt a satisfaction I had not experienced in months, but I also knew this was only the beginning. Mara was standing by her car, crying and trying to call someone on her phone. Probably Jean, probably looking for advice on how to salvage this mess. She was going to need more than advice. The aftermath of the Christmas party was everything I had hoped for and more. By Saturday morning, videos of the confrontation were trending on local social media, and by Sunday, the story had spread to the regional news outlets. Local executive romance exposed at company holiday party was not the kind of headline that looked good on anyone's resume. Mara spent the weekend in damage control mode, calling friends, family, and colleagues to try to spin the story in her favor. I listened to her conversations from my home office, where I was monitoring our phone and internet traffic with the dedication of a National Aeronautics and Space Administration mission controller. It is not what it looks like, she kept saying. Tom is having some kind of mental breakdown. He has been harassing me, following me around, making these crazy accusations. But the evidence was too compelling and the public humiliation too complete. By Monday morning, Pinecell Solutions had placed both Mara and Joel on administrative leave, pending an investigation into their conduct. Joel's wife had filed for divorce and was asking for half of everything he owned, plus alimony. And Mara's friends, the same friends who had helped her cover up the affair, were suddenly too busy to return her calls. I, meanwhile, was playing the part of the wounded husband with Oscar-worthy dedication. I went to work with dark circles under my eyes. I told anyone who would listen how devastated I was by my wife's betrayal and accepted sympathy casseroles from the neighbors with the grace of a man who had been blindsided by tragedy. I just do not understand how I did not see the signs, I told Eddie over beers on Tuesday night. I mean, I knew she was working late, but I trusted her. I thought we had a good marriage. You did have a good marriage, Eddie said. She is the one who ruined it. I keep thinking about all the time she lied to me, all the time she looked me in the eye and told me she was working when she was really with him. How do you recover from something like that? Maybe you do not, Eddie said. Maybe you just move on. Moving on was exactly what I had in mind, but first I had some unfinished business to attend to. On Wednesday night, while Mara was out to dinner with her sister, one of the few family members who was still speaking to her, I implemented the final phase of my plan. I had spent weeks preparing for this moment, setting up accounts, transferring funds, and consulting with lawyers about the legal implications of what I was about to do. Everything I planned was completely legal, though not exactly sportsmanlike. First, I emptied our joint savings account. All of it. Every penny we had saved over 12 years of marriage vanished in a series of wire transfers to a new account solely in my name. Legally, I had every right to do it. The account was in both of our names, and I was simply exercising my access to marital assets pending our inevitable divorce proceedings. Then, I changed the locks on our house. Again, completely legal since the house was solely in my name, a decision we had made years ago for tax reasons that was now paying dividends I had never expected. Next, I packed all of Mara's belongings into boxes and stacked them neatly in the garage. Her clothes, her jewelry, her books, her collection of motivational business guides, everything that belonged to her, carefully organized and labeled as if I were running a very personal moving company. Finally, I printed out copies of all the evidence I had gathered over the past few months, emails, text messages, photos, hotel receipts, credit card statements, a complete record of her affair with Joel documented with the rigor of a federal investigation. I left the evidence on the kitchen table along with a note. Mara, I have taken the liberty of gathering some materials you might need for the divorce proceedings. As you can see, I have been aware of your relationship with Joel for quite some time. I have also taken steps to protect my financial interests, as I'm sure you will understand. Your belongings are in the garage. The locks have been changed. You can pick up your things at your convenience, but please call first. I have filed for divorce on the grounds of adultery. My lawyer will be in touch. I hope Joel was worth it. Tom. Postscript, you might want to look for a new place to stay. I hear Joel is looking for a roommate. When Mara came home that night and found herself locked out of her own house, the reaction was everything I had hoped for and more. She started by ringing the doorbell repeatedly, then moved on to pounding on the door and shouting my name. When that did not work, she tried calling me, but I had blocked her number hours earlier. I watched the whole performance from my bedroom window, feeling like a director watching his masterpiece unfold. She tried the back door, the garage, even the basement entrance we never used. She called a locksmith, but when he arrived and she could not prove she lived there, her driver's license still showed her maiden name and an old address, he refused to help her break into someone else's house. Finally, she called the police. 2 officers showed up around 10 p.m., just as I was getting ready for bed. I opened the door in my pajamas, looking confused and slightly hurt. Officers, what seems to be the problem? Sir, we have a woman here who claims to live at this address, but she does not have a key and she says you have changed the locks. Is this your residence? Yes, it is. I'm Tom Holly, and this is my house. I showed them my driver's license and the deed to the property. The woman you are referring to is my wife, Mara. We are getting a divorce. She says you have locked her out illegally. I have changed the locks on my own home, which is my right as the sole owner. Her belongings are packed and waiting in the garage. She is welcome to pick them up, but she no longer lives here. The officers looked at each other, then at Mara, who was standing on my lawn looking like she had been hit by a truck. Ma'am, if the house is in his name and you are getting a divorce, he has the right to change the locks. You will have to work out the living arrangements through your lawyers. But I have nowhere to go, she protested. That is not a police matter, ma'am. It is a civil matter. After the police left, Mara stood in my driveway for another hour, calling friends and family, trying to find someone to take her in for the night. I could hear snippets of her conversations through the window. He has gone completely insane. He changed all the locks. He took all the money. Just for one night until I sort this out. Finally, a car pulled up and Jean Carlisle got out. They packed Mara's immediate necessities into Jean's Honda Civic and drove off, leaving the rest of her belongings stacked in my garage like artifacts from a failed civilization. I slept better that night than I had in months. The next morning brought new entertainment. Joel, apparently feeling guilty about Mara's situation, tried to play the white knight. He showed up at my house around 8 a.m., driving his Range Rover and wearing a suit that probably cost more than most people's rent. I was ready for him. Tom, he called, getting out of his car. We need to talk. I opened the front door and stepped out onto the porch with a cup of coffee in my hand, looking like a man without a care in the world. Joel, what a surprise. I thought you would be out of town by now. Look, I know you are angry, but taking it out on Mara is not going to solve anything. She needs a place to stay. She had a place to stay. She decided to give it up when she chose to sleep with you. This is ridiculous. You cannot just throw your wife out on the street. Can I not? Joel, let me explain something to you. This is my house. My name is on the deed. I pay the mortgage. Mara gave up her right to live here when she decided to carry on her extramarital adventures. If you are so concerned about her welfare, maybe you should offer her your couch. My wife kicked me out, he said, and for the first time, I heard something like desperation in his voice. I'm staying in a hotel. That sounds like a you problem. He took a step closer, and I could see the anger building in his face. You think you are so clever, do you not? You think you have won some kind of game. I do not think I have won anything, Joel. I think I have just stopped losing. This is not over. Actually, it is. You see, Joel, you made a fundamental error in judgment. You thought I was just some boring information technology guy who would never fight back. You thought you could steal my wife and I would just take it like some pathetic cuckold? But here is what you did not understand. Boring information technology guys know how to solve problems. And you, Joel, were a problem. I took a sip of my coffee and smiled at him over the rim of the mug. So here is how this is going to work. You are going to get in your overpriced sport utility vehicle. You are going to drive away from my house, and you are never going to contact me or my wife ever again. Because if you do, I'm going to make the Christmas party look like the warm-up act. Are you threatening me? I'm educating you. There is a difference. He stared at me for a long moment, probably trying to decide if he could take me in a fight. I was hoping he would try. I had been looking forward to finishing what we started in the parking lot, but Joel was smarter than I gave him credit for. He got back in his car and drove away without another word. That afternoon, I got a call from my lawyer. Tom, I just heard from Mara's lawyer. She is willing to discuss a settlement. What kind of settlement? She wants half the house, half the savings, and alimony. In exchange, she will agree to an uncontested divorce. I laughed. I literally laughed out loud. Counteroffer. She gets nothing. I have documented proof of her adultery, which nullifies any claim to alimony under state law. The house is in my name only, so she has no legal claim to it, and the savings. Well, let us just say I have already protected my interests on that front. Tom, are you sure you want to play hardball? Divorce proceedings can get ugly. They can, I agreed, but I have photos, emails, hotel receipts, and about 50 witnesses who watched her get humiliated at a company Christmas party. How ugly do you think she wants this to get? 3 days later, Mara signed the divorce papers. No contest, no alimony, no claim to the house or the savings. She was left with her personal belongings, her car, and what was left of her dignity. Joel left town the following week. Rumor had it he had taken a job in another state, probably hoping to escape his reputation. His wife got the house, the investments, and a very generous alimony settlement. Jean Carlisle was fired from Pinecell Solutions for her role in helping to cover up the affair. Apparently, using company resources to facilitate your friend's extramarital relationship was frowned upon in the corporate world. And me, I got to keep my job, my house, my savings, and I gained something I had not had in months: peace of mind. 6 months later, I ran into Mara at a coffee shop downtown. She was working as a receptionist at a small marketing firm, living in a studio apartment, and driving a 10-year-old Honda Civic. She looked older, tired, like someone who had learned some hard lessons about the consequences of bad choices. "Tom," she said, approaching my table hesitantly. "How are you?" "I'm doing well, Mara. How are you adjusting?" "It has been an adjustment. Look, I know you probably do not want to hear this, but I'm sorry for everything. I made some terrible choices and I hurt you badly. You did not deserve that." I studied her face, looking for signs of manipulation or insincerity, but all I saw was genuine regret. "You are right," I said. "I did not deserve it. But maybe we both needed to learn something from this." "What did you learn?" I thought about it for a moment. "I learned that I'm stronger than I thought. I learned that I do not have to accept being treated badly just to avoid conflict. And I learned that sometimes, when someone shows you who they really are, you should believe them the first time." She nodded, tears starting to form in her eyes. "I learned that some mistakes cannot be undone, that some choices have consequences you cannot escape. It is a hard lesson. The hardest." We talked for a few more minutes, politely, like acquaintances catching up rather than ex-spouses processing the wreckage of their marriage. When she left, I felt something I did not expect: sympathy. Not enough to get back together with her, not enough to forgive what she had done, but enough to hope that she had learned from her mistakes and would make better choices in the future. As for Joel, I never saw him again. But 6 months later, I received a wedding invitation from Gloria Whittaker. Now Gloria Chun. She had married Sarah, the private investigator who had helped expose the affair. The invitation included a handwritten note. "Tom, thank you for having the courage to do what needed to be done. Some sleeping dogs deserve to be woken up." Gloria. I did not attend the wedding, but I sent a nice gift and a card that said, "Wishing you both the happiness you deserve." Because in the end, that is what this whole mess had been about: people getting what they deserved. Mara deserved the consequences of her choices. Joel deserved to lose everything he had valued more than his integrity. And I deserved to be treated with respect and honesty by the person I had chosen to share my life with. It took me 2 years to fully rebuild my life, to learn to trust again, to believe that not everyone was hiding secrets and planning betrayals, but I rebuilt it stronger and more honest than before, and I never had to take another sleeping pill again.